just get onto my phone and check that we are live.
Yeah.
I cannot officially see anything on here.
No, I
but
can't. I'm putting the title in now. So I'm hoping this is what's happening. You're silent.
It's going to, let's see.
Oh wait, I'm okay. Now it's okay. It should go in like 2 seconds.
I'm going to see if I can
We
view.
should be live now.
I'm going to see if I can view the stream on Facebook as well.
Okay.
So let's see.
I'm all right. I'm just gonna assume we are live.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Okay. We are ironing out our technical glitches, but a happy Monday, everyone, and welcome to episode 32 of Change School TV, our weekly dose of inspiration for your Monday mojo and mindset reset for the week ahead. Now, it is a brand new month, which means it's a brand new theme. So in May, we wrapped up a whole weekly series on what it means to be bold. And this month of June, we are talking about well-being. And as you guys know, whenever we talk about any type of change, it always starts with your mindset. And so tonight's episode is all about how to make that mindset shift from workaholism to lifeaholism, which is a term we absolutely love, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. And really this whole month, we are going to be sharing a lot around, why your well-being needs to be your number one priority, what aspects of your life and work directly impact your well-being, and how you can start to implement better well-being practices and a better well-being driven mindset with some of our best tips and suggestions for how you can start developing better routines and practices for yourself. Now, before we dive into tonight's topic, I want to give a shout out to one of our humans of change, Ayelet Barron, whom was on the show, I think back in February, earlier this year. We'll reshare the link. If you missed that, you should definitely have a watch. Ayelet was actually the first person who I heard the word lifeaholism from, and I absolutely loved it. It really resonates with us at the Change School, and we really believe that in order to thrive, we really need to start making that shift from being workaholics to becoming lifeaholics. And we're going to talk all about that tonight. So we're going to cover why being a workaholic is killing your well-being, what it means to be a lifeaholic, and how to start making that mental shift with some of our simple and easy tips that you can start implementing right away. Okay, Grace, how are we doing?
Perfect. So, hey guys, I'm seeing you guys here on my phone as per usual. And, wherever you're signing in from, say hi. Hey, Pam. Hey, Sam. Just let us know. It's always great to see, who's joining us live, and always appreciate it when you guys are watching us live. Okay, so why being a workaholic is killing your well-being. So, we always hear, or you might have read some articles that go around in the big World Wide Web that sort of talks about how no one ever wished that they'd spent more time working, and that a lot of people wish that they'd spent more time with the people they love, or with experiences or things like that. So we're going to dive into a little bit more about, workaholism. But there's just some common misconceptions, right? That workaholism is, the same as hardworking. And we're going to break some of these. Or that a workaholic means that you're going to get ahead in your career. So there's really a fine line between working hard out of love and passion for your work and being a workaholic, right? And I just read recently about, how workaholism is really more a cognitive aspect of it, right? So it's our attitude towards our work. How we think about work, whether we dwell on it, whether we feel guilty when we're not working, that's when you're a workaholic, right? Whereas if you're working long hours or hard or whatever those things are, that doesn't always mean that you're workaholic, right? So it's really when you're feeling guilty about when you're not working. And it can be really difficult for workaholics to turn off, even when you're not actually working. So, it's really important, I think, to put that note down about working long hours and the correlation between working long hours and being a workaholic. So you can work hard, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a workaholic. So we want to ask, put these questions out there, right? Is the time that you're spending at work interfering with other parts of your life or other areas of your life? Is it hurting your relationships? Is the stress causing you physical or like mental well-being problems? Are you happy? Are you fulfilled? And I think sometimes when we think of the word happy, we can't be happy every day, right? And there's always ups and downs. And sometimes we have a misconception as well that we should be happy every day. But really, life isn't always, roses. We have moments of down periods and up periods. So when we're talking about are you happy, I think it's just in general on an overall scale, right? How are you feeling in that life of yours right now? What percentage of happiness do you have versus are you happy every single day? It's okay to not be happy every single day as well. So the truth is, workaholics, or as a workaholic, it can lead to burnout, right? And complete mental health issues or misery or sadness, or really breaking down even some of the relationships that are important to you. So most people who are workaholics don't even realize it. And something, we want to throw out there is think about how many hours you're working, right? Or break it down in a week or in a month and really look at how many hours are you working overall. And, do you struggle to stop thinking about your work when you're away from the office? And is work just a means to a paycheck? Right? So really think about those questions, because workaholism is real. And it's one of the many reasons why employee engagement has become such a big issue, but it's also something that the world of work is changing in the way that people are wanting to integrate work and life. And, it's no longer about separating work and life. It's about this life-work integration. And it's a huge issue globally. So not just here in Singapore. And, as I mentioned, I think most people tend to confuse hardworking people with workaholics, right? But workaholism means that you value the work over any other activity, even when it negatively impacts or affects your health and family, as well as the quality of your work. On the other hand, there are these people who work long hours or put long hours, but still give back to their loved ones and enjoy outside activities when they have free time, or actually they create free time, right? They create these free times to enjoy outside activities, to enjoy trips with their family, to have self-care, to do all of these things, right? So these people are hard workers, but not necessarily workaholics, right? So I think it's trying to look at that definition a little bit more. And there's a lot of research coming up around this. But, as with any addiction, the road to recovery starts with admitting that you have a problem. And everyone is different. And there are some common driving factors. For a lot of workaholics, working makes us feel important, right? It allows people to feel that they're getting recognition or getting noticed or, feeling special. And, they also believe that it will give them that raise or that promotion or some kind of distinction or an A+, right? So it's really important to understand, are you feeling any of those things? And if so, just take note of it. Workaholism also distracts us, from problems in our lives. It's sort of an escapism. It's a way for us to immerse ourselves in, work rather than dealing with some of the other things that might be imbalanced or out of place in our lives, right? Whether it's kids or other issues, weight, unhappy with spouses, whatever it is, right? So workaholics really get their excitement from meeting impossible demands. And, hard workers don't. Hard workers take breaks from work. They're, while workaholics, they just can't. It's really hard for them to do that. Hey guys, hey Sam, hey Borja. I said hi Sam. Hey Laurel, hey Pinky. Sorry guys, just seeing some people jumping in here. So if those reasons that I just shared with you resonate, then here's a couple of things that we want you to start thinking about, right? is decide that your work is a big part of your life, not the other way around, right? And look at that work-life integration or life-work integration. And there's a recent study by BCG that talks about how, millennials are no longer looking at work and life as two separate things, but as integrated. So life work, perhaps, right? That's another thing that I think Ayelet had also talked about in one of our interviews with her. Versus baby boomers, where they look at life and work as two separate things and are constantly searching for that work-life balance, right? So everything has a rhyme and reason and a time and place. But, it's something we always say at TCS, right? That how do you look at that life work, and how do you bear in mind as well the other parts of your life and that wheel of life, and see where you need to have, put more time or energy into some of the other parts so that we don't become workaholics, right? So really try and pay a bit more attention to your life as a whole, and start seeing, which areas are being underserved or have, or you're not putting enough time or not reflecting on certain things. And then that'll help you to start reflecting on the choices that you're making in your day-to-day attitude around things as well. So when we start to see that work is, one part of life, but at the same time, something that more and more people are starting to look as integrated, you'll also start to see how to create boundaries, how to create barriers, how to create your leisure time, how to create, elements for creativity or spirituality or personal development. So, hey, Kirsten. So the road to recovery from workaholism really begins when you realize that, you are so much more than your salary bracket or your job title or key responsibilities or the size of the team that you manage at your company, and that you really value the other dimensions of yourself, and you value, and worth the well-being of yourself as well. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, we're only ever going to, burn out and forget certain things or miss certain elements of ourselves or our family or our kids or other issues that we're just going to constantly be running away from, right? So it's really important to try and see. I mean, we have a wheel of life in our change planner, which we're going to share a little bit more about later. And, that's definitely a great exercise that we see when we work with students, is really realizing where you're spending so much of your energy and your time and where the other areas aren't getting enough, focus or time as well. And it's going to ebb and flow as with every relationship. One of the questions I think I always throw out there is, when has a relationship ever been 50-50, right? Or when have you, balance is one of those things that is a constant that we're always searching for. So think about, where are the areas right now in your life that you can put more time into to help you on your mental or spiritual or emotional well-being. And then bear that in mind as you move through every month, every week, every quarter, all of those sort of things, right? So think about the quality of your relationships and who you surround yourself and how they impact your well-being and your work, right? The quality of the role you play in other areas of your life, because that's also going to have impact on your overall wheel of life. The quality of your habits and when it comes to learning or personal development or self-care, where can you upgrade, right, in some of those areas in your life so that you can, be more whole or be more satisfied or be more fulfilled in all. So Sol's going to talk a little bit more about what it means to be a lifeaholic, right? There's some overlaps definitely there, but definitely it's one of those things of how do you create time and upgrade in certain elements of your life, right? Which, Sol, I'm going to let you take it on from here.
Awesome. Okay. So, a lot of you who are watching, you may or may not have heard of the term lifeaholic. I think it's relatively new, and I think it really needs to be way more widespread. So first thing you can do this week as you get started is tell everybody you know about this concept, because I think everybody needs to start thinking about it. So as it is with all new terms, right, there's kinds of different definitions out there. And I would say it's really up to you to define what it means to you. But here's some to get you started, right? So I did a quick search, surprisingly, on Wikipedia, they have a definition and I love it. It's really simple. A lifeaholic is a person who is passionate about making the most out of life. And I think that's pretty spot on. And I went in, had a read through Ayelet's great article. You should check it out in the Huffington Post. We will share the link on our blog. But her definition, I think, is a great sort of comparison where, you know, she describes a workaholic as the sort of 20th century scarcity mindset. And she describes a lifeaholic, by contrast, as a 21st century abundance mindset. Right? And just to pull a quote that she'd written, you can be addicted to playing a role in someone else's story by keeping up, or you can write, direct, and star in your own life story. It's a choice. So I really think I love these, you know, this short definition and these few short lines, because I really think it's at the heart of everything, right? And, you know, I guess at the Change School, how we would sort of transplant that into our context is it's really about giving yourself permission to think and act in accordance with who you are and what you want from life. And then being bold enough, as we are always talking about, right, to go out there and create what it is that you want. And, you know, I guess we're always talking about trusting the process, embracing the process, understanding that it's a messy journey. And the reason for that is that, you know, really moving into this whole, this notion and idea of lifeaholism is it really starts with the self-awareness, right? You have to decide who it is you are and what it is you believe and what you want out of life and what you stand for. And then from there, it's this journey of self-discovery, right? When you become a student of life, which means trying new things and experiencing new things and seeing how you can grow in different ways, right? And in different parts and areas of your life. And then from there, you know, the self-actualization, right? That's the part where you see your potential, you get excited about it, you're cultivating that boldness and courage, right? To get out there and achieve that potential, whether it's in your work, in your relationships, or just your overall well-being. So to do these things, you really need to be creating those opportunities for yourself. You need to create opportunities to reflect. You need to create opportunities to discover things. You have to create opportunities to create, right? So, you know, I love this quote by Osho. I don't know if anybody's been watching this docu, Wild Wild Country. I totally binge watched it a few weeks ago and I was so obsessed with it. But I really, out of everything, and for those of you who haven't seen it, I encourage you to watch it. But out of everything in there, I think the one quote that really spoke to me personally is this, right? So happiness is a byproduct of creativity. You need to either create something or discover something. Either bring your potential to actuality or go inwards and find yourself, but do something with your freedom. And to me, I really think that, you know, it really is this whole notion of freedom that we don't always realize, but social conditioning is really starting to ruin for us, you know, because most of us don't feel or recognize how free we are, right? We always think that we're tied down to our desks, to our jobs, to the clock, to our task list, to our bills, to the mouths we have to feed, if that's the case, and the list goes on and on and on, right? But the reality is that we always have a choice, right? In every moment, in how we spend our time, in what we choose to do, in who we choose to spend our time with, in the conversations we choose to have. So I think it's about bringing more of that awareness, more of that consciousness, and reminding ourselves that everything is a choice. And, you know, something we've probably shared before, or you may have seen on our website, you know, our change cycle, right? Where we're always talking about these pivotal moments, these different life stages that you go through. And the reason we talk about that, and I think Grace and I could share our own personal journeys, you know, for a whole month if we had to. But, you know, you always hit these pivotal moments, right? And it's different for everybody. It could be a career burnout. It could be a health condition. It could be something negative that happened in a relationship that you really value. It could be a major life change. It could be a career change, right? Or becoming a parent, any of those things. So whatever it is and whenever it happens, it's usually those moments that you really start to reassess, right? You really start to stop and think, and you think about yourself, you think about the world around you and the choices that you need to make to start making a positive change in your life or making something work better, right? So I guess all of this is to say that, you know, really at the Change School, being a lifeaholic is recognizing that, you know, we have to bring more awareness to what we're doing. And we have to not only think about work, which is, you know, career is such a big part of what we're helping people with at the Change School, but it's also, like Grace said, it's more than your job title and all of that. It's also about your relationships, right? That's why we talk about tribe building. That's why we talk about how are you cultivating meaningful connections? How are you nurturing your relationships? And it's about growth, right? So getting out of your comfort zone, looking for those new opportunities that challenge you, right? And allow you to learn and discover new things. And it's largely, I mean, cumulatively, all about your well-being, right? Whether it's through self-love, better self-care, whether it's through engaging in activities that really harness your creativity, whether it's getting more active, right? Making more time to socialize with friends, sleeping better. That's something I'm always working on, right? Eating better, whatever it is, right? It's learning to prioritize all those areas of your life, right? And like Grace said, just looking at it more holistically and seeing that work is a big part of that, but it's not everything, right? The bigger picture is your life. And so, you know, I myself, I know we always say this, but I feel like it's so important to reiterate because I think Grace and I hate to preach, but we love to share, right? And the reality is we always say, are going through and learning as we go. We're all a work in progress, you know, and I think we get really excited when whatever we're going through on a personal front or even on a work front kind of coincides with, you know, the theme or the topic that we're sharing on this show. And so, you know, just to briefly share, I guess, what's been happening on my side of the world is, you know, I had my turning point, right? So I definitely had burnout, but then the self-awareness piece was recognizing, okay, yes, I have workaholic tendencies. You know, I do have anxiety. I do tend to feel guilty if I'm not working. And I also tend to feel stagnant, right? If I'm not learning and growing, and all of that depletes my energy. So that's the self-awareness piece, and it takes time to figure that stuff out, right? But then the self-discovery piece is going, okay, I could do a better job of taking care of myself. I could do a better job of creating space for painting or listening to music or things that I really enjoy to do, or going to a museum, right? And making time for the relationships in my life that really matter. And that fills my energy. That gives me fulfillment. That helps me to be happier more often than I'm not happy. And then with the self-actualization piece, well, for me personally, that's where I get a sense of purpose, right? Is working on all these different areas of my life, seeing, you know, what I want them to look like, seeing how great they can be, and then kind of committing my everyday in small steps to getting there, right? And if that's not purpose, I mean, I don't know what is, you know? And so sometimes I think we get lost in this whole conversation of like, what's purpose? What's my work purpose? What's my career purpose? And, you know, take this with a grain of salt. But, you know, my personal view is that we all have our own individual purpose. And that is to, you know, find that sense of balance, find that sense of fulfillment, and really, achieve our full potential. So that's my jam. And Grace is going to share tips for making it happen, right?
Yep, exactly. And I think that's a really good point to take note of on, you know, the definition of purpose, because that's something we always get asked about. And, you know, some people might not find their purpose till they're 50, right? And for others, they might find, you know, they have multiple purposes, right? And I think it's embracing the idea that our purpose in life is, you know, multiple things, and to just really love fully putting ourselves into our life, versus having it to be just about career or having it to be about life, right? Or just one part of your life. So I think it's a really, really good point, because purpose is such a big, scary word. And people always tend to be like, but I don't know what my purpose is. That's okay. So some of the tips that are going to help you, you know, in making the change, because as always, we're all about action, is, you know, one is really map out your life priorities, right? And, you know, we shared, or I mentioned the Change Planner earlier, but we'll share the link with you there. But really trying to take a look at an honest look at your life, right? Your different parts of your life, your relationships, your health, your well-being, whatever those other areas are, and how your daily choices are reflecting on what's most important to you. So if you haven't yet gotten yourself one, definitely get yourself one of our change planners. There's an amazing wheel of life in there, and it's one of the best tools that will help you start to really, look at what's important, not just in a longer term, but also in a short, sprint 90-day focus point as well. Because a lot of these things are going to change at different stages, right? At different parts of your lives, you might have different areas that you want to work on. So the change planner is perfect for that because it's dateless. So you can add your own dates, and we have a wheel of life in there. You can, write down the habits or the changes that you want to make on a bigger level, and then break them down on a micro level as well. So we'll share the link, but it's just bit.ly/change planner. Second is just make a list of the things to stop, start, and continue doing, right? And really think about what are those things right now that are your non-negotiables that you're not going to do, right? And really look at developing your better routines or your practices or habits, right? And rituals to make that part of your life that you're wanting to upgrade, more front and center, right? And the different parts of your lives, think about the different rituals or routines that you can do to include that. And, I think something to think about when you're making changes, it's not going to help to try and make lots of changes because you're never going to follow through, right? So it's best to really try and put it down to like 1 to 3 things that you want to break down and really focus on, versus being like, I want to lose weight, I want to eat healthier, I want to, wake up every morning at 6 a.m. and do 10 minutes of yoga, and I want to read, 10 books. So just try and make it realistic, because otherwise you're also not going to get it done, right? And then you're going to feel overwhelmed, or you're going to feel you have all these things that you want to do. So if you want to play tennis more, if you want to do more, learning or have more self-care, just try and break it down and look at, habit stacking versus being like, I'm going to change 80% of my life right now, right? That is just not sustainable. Step 3 is learn to create boundaries, right? So, I think that's something that we're constantly working through ourselves. That's stuff that, I've had to do in the past, and really learning about setting the boundaries that are important for me at this stage of where I am, and, what it is that I want to achieve or where it is that I want to go. Even if I don't have a certain path of exactly where it is that I want to go. So if that means you want to get home at a certain time, it's like set your boundaries about leaving work at a certain time, right? Or if you're lucky and you have flexi work, that's amazing. Look at how you can carve your day so that you can get home for maybe dinner time with your kids or whatever it is, right? Or a glass of wine with your wife at a certain time. So surround yourself by other lifeaholics, right? And, really try and surround yourself with the right types of people for where it is that you envision yourself and your future, vision of yourself, right? Learn to say no. That's the most important thing, right? But also without feeling guilty. I mean, I know a lot of the times when, people invite you to things, you're like, oh yeah, definitely. And then you're like, I really am not going to go to that. But it's hard to say no without feeling guilty. So that's something that I still need to work on, right? And we shouldn't feel the need to justify or explain why. And to be honest, this is something that drives me up the wall, because when you say no, then, people tend to be like, why? And then you have to give an explanation. And then I just say I'm busy, even though I don't really like to use that word. I like to say I've had full days, but actually I am. And, they can take it as it is, but people just expect explanations as to why, rather than taking it at face value and saying, you know what, maybe they just don't want to come right now, but doesn't mean I'm not going to invite them to later events or other opportunities, right? So I think we need to be better at that. And I'm saying that to myself as well. But if you don't value your time, no one else will, right? So in the famous words of, I always hate how to say this because I always say Warren Buffett, or buffet, but just leave that. The difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. And again, let's just define what success means to you, right? Because it's always easy for us to put these things out there, and then people go, wait, but I don't want to be that type of a success. So just always putting these spins on it, okay? It's not black and white. 4 is always do the things that fulfill you, and really make time and make, space so that you can really manage your energy for the tasks or the activities that you want to do, or the people and the relationships that make you feel good and, make you feel better. And as Sol said, if you go onto our website and see our change cycle, at different stages of your lives, there's going to be different things that are going to make you fulfilled, right? In graduation, you might go out and have, more fun and partying and drinking, right? And that's great. As an empty nester, you might find you're also doing that because your kids that are out of the house and you're finally able to do whatever and not having, to be at home at 8 p.m. for bedtime, right? I mean, so think about the life stage that you're in and think about what are those things that are going to fulfill you, right? And finally, step 5 is taking time out. And, a lot of the times we're always on our phones, we're always switched on, and we really find it hard to recharge and reset without any digital devices, right? And it's not even about just going on a holiday. It's really about carving that time out for yourself, whether it's 5 minutes a day or whether it's on a Sunday having no tech days, which is something that, I used to do probably like 3 years ago. I had my week plan and Sundays was like no tech day for at least half of the day, right? And it's amazing what it does for you. And it's amazing how much time you realize you then have that perhaps you're spending on your phone, right? Responding to everyone else's WhatsApp messages, right? So it's not about just escaping and checking out from your life, but really taking that time and carving that time. So making that time happen for yourself, right? Whether it's to, have some time on your own, whether it's to read, whether it's to eat better, whether it's to do more physical activity, whether it's to sit on your couch in your pajamas and eat Ben and Jerry's, whatever that is, right? So I think, 5 steps or 5 tips for making change is 1, mapping out your life priorities with a change planner if that's of interest. 2 is making a list of the things that you want to stop, start, and continue doing. 3 is to learn to create boundaries and start doing that immediately. 4 is always doing the things that fulfill you, and 5 is taking time out. Sorry, I just saw, hey, Anna, great ideas on purpose. A key one for me is that I don't just have one purpose. Some way I don't just have one talent. I have many talents for it. Therefore, I have many, many purpose. Yes, absolutely. And I think that's going to be something that we see more and more because we are multidimensional humans, right? And we can't just have one part of us completely fulfilled for the rest of our lives. And that's something that used to drive me insane when people would ask why I do so many different things, because I have different parts to myself. So I think that's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Cool. Okay.
Okay, so we've got all the tips done. And I love the comment that just came in, and I totally agree. And I mean, I guess that's why, I think overall, I mean, if you forget nothing, if you remember nothing from our session today, I would just say, remember that, don't get hung up on this whole idea of purpose, right? It's yours to define. And I think that the sooner we can recognize that there are so many parts to ourselves, there's so many parts to our life, and that, life is that journey of sort of making the most of all of it, then that for now can be your placeholder purpose if you want, right? That should be enough to keep you thriving, keep you focused on your well-being, and charging ahead. And so for today, we hope if you haven't checked out our change planner yet, you head over to bit.ly/change planner and check it out. It can be the perfect companion for you if you are really wanting to make that shift from workaholism to lifeaholism. And like Grace said, we have a great wheel of life in there, actually 2 versions, so you can actually trace like where you are now to how you're moving as you're making micro changes every day in different parts of your life. And it can help you to really implement a lot of the tips that we've already shared. So you can really focus week to week on what to stop, start, and continue doing. You can even set a goal for yourself month to month of, one new boundary that you're going to set this month and how you're going to implement that. You can really make a list of the things that fulfill you and start ticking them off day by day, or even just planning your next, I want to say escape, but I don't want to say escape, your next sort of timeout. Yeah. And even if you don't use our change planner, then I encourage you guys to have a think on how you can do any or all of these things this week, right? So you could do a wheel of life in 15 minutes. You could make a list of things to stop, start, continuing in another 15 minutes. You can practice setting boundaries this week. You can do one thing that really fulfills you outside of your work this week. And you can practice taking time out, whether it's during your work day or during the work week or even on the weekend. So we'd love to hear what you guys think, how you're implementing, and if you do any or all of these things, then let us know in the comments, and we will give you a shout out and a little star for being such an awesome human of change.
Yeah, and we are so happy to see a bunch of new Lifeaholics joining us tonight live. Lifeaholics who are liveaholics too. So, we're all about Lifeaholics this month. And we're always about liveaholics, right? So I think that's it for us now. And we're going to catch up with our new tribe of Lifeaholics. We'll see you in our Facebook group or, in the online space or offline, wherever you are when you see us in Singapore. But otherwise, we'll see you next week, 8:30 p.m. Singapore time, same place, same time. Bye, Borja. Hi. Sorry, I'm just getting distracted here. I think I need to stop my roll.
Okay, more on well-being for the rest of June. We will see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye, guys.